back to Passions Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the soap opera Passions. I'm your regular host, LeTara, back today with Shane. Welcome back, Shane. How you feeling?
Thank you. I am feeling great, and it was so wonderful to watch Passions again because my personal rewatch has slowed down a bit, but that's all right. I love jumping back into it at any point.
Yeah, well, good. You know, you have to take time. I mean,
Hmm.
I don't take much time because I'm like doing this every week, but like I'm frankly this week especially like damn near gave me an aneurysm. Sometimes you have to take a break. You have to take a break. I pulled out because I usually watch with my earbuds in, right? So
Hmm.
there were at least 3 moments where I had to pause and pull my earbuds out. I was like, I can't do this. I can't. I was like rubbing my face, just like, oh my God. Particularly the rewriting of history that they have done between Liz and Antonio and like what happened in their relationship really, truly, deeply incensed me this week to the point that I have pulled clips to share with you all today to prove that they rewrote this shit. And I will not. I refuse to be gaslit by Passions. I refuse. So, and I
Hmm.
know it's 20 years. It's been 20 years, but I don't care. I'm still gonna fight about it. So,
Yeah, no, we're not going to be gaslit by Passions, and that was the time when I started arguing with the screen. I was like, no, it's not. That's not what happened. You're remembering it wrong, Liz.
yeah, Liz of all people is the one saying that. And then they double down and Antonio says it. And I was
Hmm.
like, no, this is not how this happened. So we will get there soon.
Hmm.
Ish. We'll get there soon ish. Because today we're gonna be doing another double episode. So we'll do the first 2 parts and then we'll do the first 2 storylines and then we'll get into the second 2 storylines next week. So this week we are starting with Troubled Marriages and Shuis. But before we get into that, I want to say a shout out to the patrons over on Patreon. Thank you to Moonashe, Lisa, Zach, Sid, Sarana, Randall, Hannah, Camelia, Jeanette, Eric, Fantasia, Sean, S, Larissa, Maria, Lisa, Jessica Jean, Laura, Karen, Uche, Justin, Paige, Casey, Garage, Tom Bergeron, Daisy, Shane, who is here with us today, Kelly C, Taylor Harris Crane, DJ, Kelly M, Rodo, and Lisa R. Because we have 3 Lisas, and I did not do the specifics, but yeah, y'all know who you are. Lisa S, Lisa A, Lisa R.
R.
Thank you all so much. Thank all of you so much. And if anybody else wants to become a patron, go over to patreon.com/passionspodcast and sign up for whatever tier you find most agreeable. And now on with the show, because I have so much to talk about this week.
Hmm.
So much to honestly, I have so much to bitch about this week. There was some fun stuff, but not much.
Mm-mm.
I really enjoyed the argument that Kay had with Grace. So I
Yes.
actually clipped that this week too to share within the episode because it's too good for me to just paraphrase it for y'all. Y'all have to just
Hmm.
listen to it and watch it. It's so damn good. So we will get there actually next week because that's in the magic and the fated couple storyline. So we're picking up first and foremost with Troubled Marriages, and it's really there's no Grace and Sam this week, which truthfully I'm grateful for. I didn't need it. So it's all about TC and Eve and Liz and what's going on with these wonderful, wonderful people in harmony. So we pick up and Liz is just roaming around the house, even TC's house, because TC has invited Liz to stay in the apartment above the garage because there were no hotels in town, and she's just going to be staying there indefinitely.
Hmm.
So she's just roaming around the house, and then she finds TC and Eve's bedroom, and their door is open. Eve's not at home, but TC's in the bedroom doing push-ups to sexy R&B music. I was like, what is happening?
When I
Yeah,
heard that at first, I was like, is he listening to like some type of porno music? Because it sounded like that at first, and then you hear the words. It's not, but
yeah, no, it definitely was very sensual music.
hmm.
And and he's just doing push-ups, and Liz is watching him like so jealous of Eve. Wow, Eve has such a wonderful husband. How could she ever have such a wonderful husband like TC? Which is, it's just so funny that she's like gushing about how great and wonderful and handsome TC is. And I have spent the last 800 episodes of this show loathing him entirely. It's like, how could anybody even like him? And so she's like plotting her revenge on Eve. And it seems it seems that her revenge, beyond just like exposing Eve, that her revenge is going to be to like take her husband.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, oh, okay.
She wants TC for some odd reason. I don't know why. Because when she was looking at him, I was like, the joke is on you, lady.
Yeah, for some odd reason is exactly right. And so she interrupts him. He's like, "Oh, Liz, I didn't realize you were here." Also she's wearing like what Passions considers lingerie. So, right, like it's supposed to be sexy. I truthfully did not think anything of what she was wearing until much, much later when TC makes a comment to Eve where he says, when she catches them in there together, and he's like, I don't think she thought about how she was dressed when she came in here. And so I was like, oh, we're supposed to think she was like scantily clad, but it was a long nightgown, and I believe she had a robe on over it. I think in Passion's terms, if you're wearing something silky, it's sexy, no matter how much it covers.
Yeah, I actually didn't pay attention until I think when she said she was going to change to go to the mansion. I was like, oh, she's in night clothes? Like, I thought she had just arrived, not seeing the previous episode.
Yeah, she was in a dress. Like, she was fine. I was like, girl, you could go like that.
It was as long as this night is on Passions.
Oh my God. And they just keep adding things to the night. It's crazy. I can't believe. Reminder, everybody, this is the same day as Sheridan and Antonio's like ambush wedding. It is the same day as the elevator incident. It is the same day. What else is it? It's Halloween. It's also Halloween.
Apparently.
There's so, I'm sure I'm forgetting things that have happened in this night. We've been talking about these things for weeks, over a month. We've been in this day for over a month now.
And in Passion's time, they're also only a month away from Christmas.
Yep. Yep, a little over a month, which actually makes sense because they've now jumped us to it's Halloween, right? I mean, it was June, August, right? And then we went from August to Halloween, so whatever. So sorry, I'm off track. Liz and TC, they strike up a conversation. TC says, he's so lucky to have such a, oh no, sorry, not TC. Liz says to TC, you're so lucky to have a wife you can trust. I know she's out all hours of the night. You're not worried she could be with another man. And then TC asks Liz about herself, and she explains about how she owns a resort and that she loves it, and that she has a plane, and she knows how to drive planes. She knows how to fly a plane. And TC is like kind of enamored with her. He's like, wow, Liz, you're a really exciting woman. And she's like, oh, I have a little something for you. Mind you, she's walking around in a nightgown, but she also has her suitcase with her. Like, what are you doing? And so she says, I have something for you. She breaks out this bottle of liquor. It's Jamaican rum. And he's like, oh, I shouldn't drink. And she's like, oh, no, this is a gift for you and your wife. And just have a sip. I swear you're going to love it. You've never tasted anything like it. So they drink a sip of this Jamaican rum. Only later, when Eve comes back and she picks up the bottle, it's half empty. It's half gone. So, I think that was just sloppiness on Passion's part. But because they weren't drunk at all.
No.
But yeah, I was like, they were supposed to have a taste, but then the bottle was they drank half the bottle of rum. And so, yeah, they're just talking all about, she tells him about her life, kind of, her life on the island, and they're enjoying it. Meanwhile, Eve, truthfully, where was Eve? Do you know? I can't remember.
She came from the book cafe with Antonio and Beth.
Right. Thank you. Yes, because she, for whatever reason, was giving Antonio a diagnosis at the book cafe. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. So yeah, she's on her way home, I guess, and Cecil and Connie, cracked Connie, encounter her and say trick or truth, kind of like how they did with Charity before. Oh,
Hmm.
sorry, a gnat flew almost in my eye. Say trick or truth, and they tell her that now that Liz has come back into her life, everything's gonna change. Eve gets very rattled because she's like, "Who the fuck are you?" Because when she first sees them, she thinks they're just little trick or treaters, right? She
Hmm.
doesn't think anything of it. And then they mention Liz and that Liz is going to wreck her life. And she's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Who are you? What do you know about me? And what do you know about my past? And they say, we know your past. We know everything about your past. And we know that while everyone else in Harmony thinks you're a fine, upstanding citizen, you're nothing more than a common street slut. You're going to lose everything you cheated and lied to get. Liz is going to destroy you and take away everyone you love. Again, I'm not entirely sure. Maybe they will tell us at some point. But saying that Eve, she's going to lose everything she cheated and lied to get. I guess she did. She lied, but did she really cheat? I don't know.
I
We'll
don't think
see.
so.
Yeah, we'll see. But like she went to medical school. I mean, of course, I am the first person to say she's the worst doctor in the world. So maybe she did cheat her way through medical school. But in canon, everybody thinks she's the most amazing doctor, right?
Hmm.
Like in reality, us watching it is like she's the worst physician in the world. But in Harmony, they think she's like the greatest thing since sliced bread. Like she's actually competent to them. Not just competent, she is excellent. So that tells me she didn't cheat her way through medical school. So I don't know what she cheated.
No, I
She
thought
cheated
I thought they
completely.
were implying that like she, I guess, cheated in life and cheated on everyone or maybe her family. It was, I don't know, it was weird the way they said it like that
Yeah.
because, like you said, she's a doctor. She's the doctor who does everything in Harmony.
Yeah, and
So
they're
it's a
like,
bit
do
odd
you?
they used that word in that term. So I'm like, they probably don't care if she cheated on Julian. Like they probably want her to cheat because evil would win.
Yeah, I don't know. Everything she cheated and lied to get. Like, I get the lying part, I get that,
Hmm.
but the cheating part, the things that she has is because she's a doctor. Like the life that she has as far as her home and the material thing she has, her money,
Hmm.
her career. She didn't cheat for that, but
No.
I am I am really dwelling on a very little tiny my like that is minutia truly. So let's move on.
Hmm.
So they taunt her about Liz, saying right now Liz is putting the moves on your man TC and Liz sitting in a tree. KISSING. And so then she rushes off to go home, right? And she finds Liz in her bedroom with her husband. What are you doing? What are y'all doing here? And when she walks in, they are in a weird position, but it's not particularly compromising,
Mm-mm.
right? Like they're both just like bent over each other, you know? And she's just like, what the hell's going on here? And TC explains that he was helping Liz with her suitcase, and then it fell, and he tried to catch it, and then she started to fall, and he had to catch her, and blah blah blah, whatever. It was nothing.
Hmm.
Liz goes out into the hallway, and I'm sorry, no, Liz gushes about how like great TC is, and he has like these. You're so lucky, Eve, that you have a husband with such big muscles, and you're a really lucky woman, Eve. And so then she and Liz have a conversation separate from TC. Sorry, no, they don't. Then Eve has a conversation with TC after Liz leaves the room. And this is when she finds that half drank bottle of rum. She's like, what the hell was going on in here? And TC says it was nothing. And he says, and I don't think she realized how she was dressed when she came in this room. So insinuating that she was like, dressed sexily or whatever. And then he talks about how exciting he finds Liz. And he says, I can't believe a woman that beautiful has never been married. And then he also says, well, she did tell me something about her life, but she wouldn't get around to the point of what she was trying to tell me. But that seems to be why she never got married. And then he makes some comments about Eve being perfect. What else is new? Blah, blah, blah.
Hmm.
You're the most beautiful, perfect wife a man could ever have. And then I think he goes to like take a shower, right? So Eve says to herself, Liz, you have got to be stopped. I'm not gonna let you destroy my life or ruin my family. I love some of those little moments where they kind of just talk to themselves and give me some good quotes. That's such a good quote. Liz, you have got to be stopped. Because she does. So later, Eve encounters Liz leaving Whitney's bedroom. And we will talk more about why Liz was in Whitney's bedroom in the Fated Couples stuff when we talk about Whitney and Chad. But basically, she found them together. And so she comes out of her room, and Eve tells her in no uncertain terms that she needs to stay away from her husband and her daughters. And Liz is like, well, the girls need someone responsible to talk to. And, and Eve says, well, if they need somebody to talk to, they can talk to me, their mother. And she says, there's nothing that they can't tell me. There's nothing that I don't know about my own children. And Liz says, well, I already know a little more about your daughters than you, Eve. And because she just learned this information. But Eve actually kind of knows this information too. It's just that Whitney's been lying about it. Liz then says to Eve, I could tell that when you walked in on me and TC together in your bedroom, it got under your skin. But not everyone's a tramp like you, Eve. That was so funny to me. But not everyone's a tramp like you, Eve. And she says, we just had a pleasant talk about my life. You never even came up. And she's like, and your husband's so wonderful and he's so handsome. I don't know how you ever managed to land him. You're so lucky. She just keeps gushing about how great TC is. I disagree.
Yeah, it really proves she does not know him.
she doesn't know him at all, right? And yeah, she doesn't know him at all. He doesn't know her. And I guess it's just a jealousy thing. She's very jealous of Eve in general. She is the Simone in their relationship.
Yes.
Yeah. She is very much the Simone in their relationship.
She's just not as oblivious as Simone is.
Yeah, absolutely. She's not as oblivious as Simone is. And truthfully, Simone isn't oblivious anymore. She's just pretending to be oblivious now, So, she teases Eve like that I didn't tell him anything about your past. You didn't come up at all. However, at some point I will be having that conversation with him, and I have all the evidence I need to expose you for being, a slut, I guess. and then she opens this old ass suitcase. Y'all, this was crazy. She opens this suitcase, and inside, I wrote, she opens a suitcase full of junk, because that's what it looked like.
It was.
So when she opens it up and she explains what's inside, she says, I carry this suitcase with me everywhere I go. I have been carrying this suitcase everywhere I go for over 20 years as insurance in case anyone doubts the story that I have to tell about you. She says, I knew one day that our paths would cross, and I wanted to make sure when that day arrived, I was prepared. If you stay ready, you don't have to get ready, right?
Yes.
She actually is unwell. The fact that she's been carrying this suitcase around for 20 years is insane. So let's talk about what this quote evidence is inside of this suitcase. It's evidence. It's not evidence of like anything Eve did that we can tell, so far. It's just evidence that they know each other, that they have a history together. So she says, this is evidence of our history and of your days as a drug addict and a tramp. But what she has is Eve's birth certificate, her high school graduation photos, matchbooks from nightclubs, one of which is called the Satin Garter, which maybe that's like a strip club or something. Maybe a gentleman's club. I don't know, but it's just a matchbook. It doesn't prove shit. It
It,
doesn't prove anything.
it doesn't prove
Besides,
Eve was ever there.
at all. And all it proves is that you are unwell. That's
Hmm.
all this is proving. And but she also has Eve's album. It's called Living Smooth. So she has the record of Eve, and it did have her face all over it. So that is a little bit more proof of like the past that Eve has been hiding,
Hmm.
more so than her birth certificate. Like, why do you have this?
I don't know what she thinks that would prove, but at least with the album, TC would be like, wait a minute, I thought you hated music because, she's kind of trashed it every time she heard it.
Yes, yes. And for him to find out that she was actually like a singer, and I think if he did, well, TC's not a thinker and he's not so smart,
No.
but if he had a little bit of sense, if he saw that album and then put together all the times where Eve has railed against Whitney singing and the girls
Hmm.
singing, and that it leads to booze and loose morals, maybe he would get a clue, right? Like he would figure out, I guess she talks about those things actually from experience, not
Hmm.
just what she believes to be true about it. It's actually her experience. But TC would never make those connections ever.
No.
Ever.
He,
Have you ever played have you ever played the New York Times Connections?
I don't know if I have.
Okay, so New York Times has several games that are like daily games.
Hmm.
So there's Wordle, and so I play a lot of them every day. One is called Connections, and it's hella hard. Some days it's really hard, but basically you get what's 4 times 4? 12. You get 12 words. Is 4 times 4 12?
It's 16.
Oh my god. Anyway, they give you a graph of like
Hmm.
16 words, and you
Hmm.
have to figure out which 4 words go together. What connects these words together.
Okay.
TC could never, in each line is like harder than or easier than the next. So
Hmm.
the bottom line is like the hardest one to do. And TC he could never get the top line. He would never be able to form any connections ever.
No. And I thought maybe the most damning piece of evidence about the CD, other than itself, is, and I can't remember this because I've read Hidden Passions and, I've seen Passions. And I can't remember if Crane Industries or Crane Recording Studios were the one that did the album for Eve. And I was like, even if that was on there, he still wouldn't catch it.
No, he would not.
Like Liz would have to point it out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and I have always wondered about that recording studio in Harmony because it was Julian's, but then they do make comment about him never using it, like that it had
Hmm.
never been used. But maybe they did use it that one time to make that record. So, yeah. And then he just locked it up and never used it again, except he gets new equipment delivered to it every year for some reason. So anyway, she tells Eve, Liz tells Eve, I've been carrying this around for over 20 years just so I could, when I met you, when I had the opportunity, I wouldn't miss my opportunity to screw you over, blow you out of the water, and steal everything from you the way you stole everything from me. And then Eve very firmly warns Liz. She says, I'm warning you, Liz. Stay away from my husband and stay away from my daughters. You have been warned.
Hmm.
And it was kind of it really Eve has a little edge to her, right?
Hmm.
And I love to see it. I want to see more of that from Eve when it comes going toe to toe with Liz. But Liz makes a great point, which is she says, or what? You want me to stay away from them or what? You're not going to do a damn thing unless you want to confess to your family about your past, which I know
Hmm.
you're not going to do. So she says, I think you think that I'm just going to stay quiet, but let me disabuse you of that notion. I'm going to take from you what you took from me. Happiness. Okay. Liz is on one. I again, I will say, I'm trying to watch this as if I don't know what's coming.
Hmm.
But there's just some things that I know. I remember what Liz's beef was, and I'm like, girl,
Same.
Move on.
It's
It-
not quite as bad as the shed, but it ranks up there.
no, exactly. It's like, oh, this is what it was. Y'all spent years making us think it was something insane, and this is what it was. But yeah, so um she tells her, I'll watch you suffer like you made me suffer, and that's a promise. This is when TC interrupts, and Liz has like stuff in her hands, but it's I don't know. She puts it back in the suitcase. I'm not entirely sure. He asks her about what she's holding, and she gives him the entire suitcase and
Hmm.
tells him, hey, take a look at these pictures, and hands him a set of pictures. Which was very nostalgic to see, like a set of pictures that had been developed, in
Hmm.
that little envelope. And so she hands him the set of pictures. He opens it, he looks at it, he's like, oh my God. Of course they cut away as if she was about to expose Eve. No. It's just pictures of her fucking resort. And he's like, wow, this is so beautiful. Baby, talking to Eve, we need to go down there one day and go for a nice little romantic weekend getaway. And Eve's like, yeah, that would be nice. Whatever. Um, Liz then pulls Eve to the side and basically tells her, yeah, I was toying with you because I just want to see the look on your face when you thought that your life was about to be blown to bits. She says, but I do have the proof that I want to show TC, and I will be showing it to him, right? But
Hmm.
then they get interrupted because she has like, oh, it was pictures of the two of them as children that she had. Do you need to stop?
No, I'm good.
Okay. It was that's another thing real quick. If you do need to stop, just tell me, okay?
Okay,
We can pause at any time. No
absolutely.
big deal. I forgot to say that, but yeah, especially since we're going to be going long for a little while. Um so Liz pulls out these other pictures, and it's pictures of Eve and Liz as little girls. So they don't look like how they look now. It's like
Hmm.
two children, two child actors in a picture together. Um, and so Liz is going to show these pictures to TC, but then they get interrupted by Luis. Luis shows up. He lets himself in the house. He says that he rang the doorbell over and over again, but it didn't work and the door was open, so he just let himself right in. What time is it? Y'all don't lock your doors. What time is it?
Well, they
Crazy.
weren't locked because their kids were running in and out.
They should have keys. They should have a
True.
key to their own house. So yeah, Luis comes in and invites them to his intervention for Antonio. And Liz, he explains that me and Sheridan are going to tell Antonio the truth tonight. And Eve, you need to be there because you're the doctor and you need to be there to take care of him. And Liz, you should be there because you're probably his best friend, and you can be there to kind of pick up the pieces and be a support to him. Liz takes exception to this plan, saying,
Hmm.
why would you take this chance when you know the shock could kill him? Blah blah blah, who cares? Eve notices that Liz has a lot of emotion when she's talking about Antonio. And so before they head over to the intervention, Luis leaves, and TC goes, TC says, I'm gonna come too.
For
um
some reason.
for some reason. I will say TC said one thing this week that for the first time, I think ever, I agreed with him. He points out to Luis, like, why are you inviting all these people to watch your brother be he's going to be humiliated
Hmm.
in front of all his friends and family when he finds out that you and Sheridan are in love, that Sheridan loves you and not him. And I was like, yeah, yes, I agree, but we're not there yet. So TC decides he's going to come too, for whatever reason. I guess to witness the humiliation, because he
Hmm.
said that, and then he was like, so I'm coming too. And so before they go to the intervention, Eve talks to Liz about her relationship with Antonio, and she says that she can tell that Liz loves Antonio and really cares for him deeply. And she asks her, were you lovers? Liz says yes. And then she says, well, why didn't you get married? It's like, you don't have, first of all, you don't marry every person you have sex with. But she's like, why didn't you get married? And Liz says, because of you, Eve. I'm not Antonio's wife because of you. What? What? No.
Since
No.
when? Since when, ma'am?
Since when? Since 3 seconds ago. That's crazy. Crazy talk entirely. This irritated me. So then Eve says to her, wait a minute. How can I be responsible for what happened between you and Antonio when I wasn't even there? And then Liz says, Eve, what you did to me left scars, psychological scars. I was never able to open myself up completely to him. I was never able to trust completely, and I was never able to love him the way I wanted to. So he gave up on me. So you want to know what happened? That's what happened. He did give up on you, but he didn't want you.
Exactly. I was gonna say I didn't think that's how that played out.
It's not. And I have the clips to prove it, y'all. But I'm gonna save it for when we really get into the Shuis storyline proper. But I brought the clips. I brought receipts, proof, timelines. I brought it all. So Eve apologizes to her, even though they're rewriting this history and it's some bullshit. Eve apologizes. Liz says, sorry, ain't gonna cut it, bitch. And that's actually all I have for them this week. You have anything to add to that?
No, that's exactly where my notes ended for them as well.
Nice. So we made it through that much faster than I expected. I'm glad. I'm glad. Maybe we won't do a double episode. Well, we're getting into Shuis now, so.
And there's a lot of Shuis.
There is so much Shuis. So let's see.
They were featured all 5 episodes all week.
They were in all 5 episodes. And truthfully, like I said, this shit damn near gave me an aneurysm. I was enraged through several portions of this. Literally, there's portions of my notes that just in all caps, bolded. Like I took the time to bold it. I just wrote, go to hell. Like I was very upset. So let's talk about it. Let's chit chat about it. Antonio has gone to the hospital to be checked out by Eve. He worries about dying. I will say we watched the first episode of this week, 851, on a watch party. I didn't take the best notes. So if you have anything to add, please add in what you got, because again, I didn't take like the greatest notes on that first episode. And also, honestly, anytime Antonio's talking, anytime Antonio's talking, I tend to zone out. I try not to, but I do. I hate the sound of his voice. I can't stand anything he has to say. It's because he's always saying the exact same thing. There's no depth to this character whatsoever. He is the most shallow, vapid motherfucker on this show. And it drives me crazy. It drives me crazy. So he goes to get checked out by Eve. She's running some tests. He's talking about how he's worried about dying, and leaving Sheridan alone and losing time with Sheridan. Everything's about Sheridan. So later he goes to the book cafe, I guess to wait on his test results, because he goes to the book cafe and he is telling Beth that, Dr. Russell is running some tests. She's also gonna call a European specialist for me. Why didn't she do that sooner? Like, she knew what his diagnosis was.
But she's every doctor. She didn't need to until she realized she couldn't heal someone for once.
She couldn't handle it. She's like, the sedatives aren't working. I have to call in a specialist. So actually,
if you want a sedative or something to quiet your nerves,
just for good measure. So he tells Beth that Eve's planning to call in a specialist for him from Europe, and that he's gonna fight this thing and he's gonna beat it and he's gonna live as much of his life with Sheridan as he possibly can. This is when Eve shows up and meets with Antonio at the book cafe to talk to him about his diagnosis, about his condition. Why are we meeting at the book cafe and not at your office? Also, it is the middle of the night.
I was surprised it was still open.
Yeah, oh yeah, the book cafe is still open, and they're here discussing his medical history. They're discussing his, okay, Eve. So, she meets him at the book cafe and tells him that his condition is worsening. Duh, of course it is. I hated the way they framed this week. They do this multiple times this week, wherein they act like they haven't already told us that Antonio is dying and he will be dying quite soon. That's information we have known for weeks, maybe even months at this point, right?
Yes, and they keep dangling it over our head that he's going to die soon, and we're sitting here like, when? Can today be the day, please?
He just won't drop dead. He just won't drop dead. But now it's weird because it's like they're trying to raise the stakes for us, but the stakes are the exact same they always have been. Antonio is dying. His condition's getting worse. He will be dying soon. That's what it's always been. But all of a sudden, it's like new information to everybody. It was very strange to me. So she explains to him that he will be going blind, and she says, when you lose your sight, death is imminent. Which I don't know why that line was so funny to me, but it was. When you lose your sight, death is imminent. Like, what is this disease? What is this disease?
What are you dying from, sir? Because it is not a shock.
So Antonio is like, he takes this news very well because it's not new news, right? But he takes it very well. It's like, man, I guess I don't have long to live. Yeah, no shit. We've been saying that. Everybody's been okay. Frankly, you know what? I should give Antonio a slight break here. He only recently found out that he was sick. Everybody else knew, but he had no clue because Eve's the worst doctor in the world. And it's crazy because later on he makes a speech about how great Eve is and what a great doctor she is. I'm like, her?
I was like, there's a moment later on that's coming up where he talks about something he thinks she did that would actually make her a terrible doctor.
Let's get into it. We're getting there. So Antonio is like, oh, I guess I need to go and break the news to Sheridan that I'm dying. Sheridan's the one that broke the news to you. Sheridan is the one that broke the news to you that you were dying. So she already knows. But again, they've like they're attempting to like make it seem like it's even worse, so much worse than it was before. No, it's just like how time works. This is just how time progresses in life. You get your diagnosis, you're sick. You will, if your doctor tells you there's nothing I can do for you, you will continue to get sicker and sicker and sicker as time moves on. Time has moved on since you were diagnosed and you got sicker. That's just how time works. That's just how diseases work. Oh my God. I'm sorry. I know I'm like really, really zoned in on this, like hard, but it just frustrated me a lot this week. So anyway, he's like, I have to go tell Sheridan, but then he has a brain freeze and he can't leave the book cafe. They make him sit down. And then he starts talking about Sheridan again. I just love Sheridan so much. And I know that she loves me. Who are you trying to convince? Why do you keep saying that? I know she'll be strong for me in whatever time I have left. I know she'll make it the best time of my life. I know Sheridan loves me. Ugh, stop whining. I know he's dying, but...
But he's so insufferable, though.
Yes, he is. I don't know how they managed to make him so awful. I don't know how they managed to make him so awful that I have so little sympathy for this dying man. This dying man. So, I
guess he takes after his father in that aspect because I like most of the Lopez Fitzgeralds, but then, Antonio seems a lot more like Martin because I don't like Martin.
Yeah, yeah. As he has said before, he takes more after the Irish side of his family. So, yep.
That makes sense. It checks out.
It does. That actually tracks. So, he leaves, and then in the next scene we see Edna, because she's at the book cafe with Beth. She's telling Beth that, Sheridan and Luis are probably making love right now. You're never gonna have him. She's just antagonizing Beth throughout this entire week. I don't like Edna at all. I know that she's comic relief, or supposed to be comic relief, and sometimes she is funny, and I get why people like her. I just find her, the truth is, Beth is such a fucking villain and so evil because of her mother, right? She's the actual source of all of this. So I just can't stand Edna. So she's just like antagonizing Beth, telling her, Sheridan and Luis are going to be together. They're probably together right now, making love. You're going to be an old maid. All you're going to ever be able to do for the rest of your life is take care of me. And then they have like some interaction with Eve. And after Eve leaves, and just a reminder that anytime that any other person is in the vicinity with them that they're like talking to, these two women, Edna and Beth, both pretend like there's nothing wrong in their relationship, and that they're a loving mother-daughter, they have a loving mother-daughter relationship. So they're faking it with Eve, right? Eve is like, oh, Beth, you're such a good daughter to be taking care of your mother all the time, blah, blah, blah. So then Eve leaves, and Edna says to Beth that the real reason, she's like, if that lady only knew that you're the real reason that I have this walker, and that all my trips to the hospital, that you're behind all those trips to the hospital, everybody would hate you, and people would really know what you are and who you are. So then I'm led to believe that Edna has been taken to the hospital with multiple physical injuries, and nobody has called the authorities, because this woman is clearly being abused, right? Like, if you are going to the hospital, if you're an old woman or old person in general, same way with kids, old people and kids, they have to look out for like excessive injuries. If you're coming to the hospital set over and over again, they're supposed to call a social worker to have you checked and make sure that everything's okay with you. So again, we're going to just talk about how bad Eve is as a doctor, that she has not figured out that Edna is clearly being abused.
I was just getting ready to say, but they're going to see Eve. So of course those calls aren't being made. And Eve is probably believing that Edna is falling or tripping as much as Beth is telling her.
Yep, because she's a terrible doctor.
And in this town, no one really goes to the hospital when they need to anyway. So I can't imagine, like, she's probably only talking about 3 or 4 trips.
That's true. I'll give it to you. I'll give her that. So, meanwhile, Sheridan and Luis are at the mansion where they have a conversation, and Sheridan explains what she saw between him and Beth. Okay, so we're picking up, and they are on the outs, right? Sheridan believes that she saw Luis kissing Beth, and then 2, making love to Beth. And she tells him, I saw you, and I understand that you've moved on and it's over between us, and it's my fault because I took too long. And she says, I love you, and I just want you to be happy, even if that means you're with Beth. And then he's like, Beth? It's like, Beth and I aren't back together. And he explains that he says, I love you, Sheridan, and I always will. He explains that he thought he was making love to her. And then they make up and make out. Okay? And then they make love on the couch in the living room.
In the Crane Mansion.
Yep, in the Crane Mansion. They run to the doors to lock the doors, and then they meet back up. It was hot, to be honest. I was like super into it. And they make love on the couch, on that ugly, hideous couch. They have like a giant red satin sheet, where I don't know where that came from. They just keep that there. That's Rebecca's like sex sheet
exactly.
that she keeps in every room. She keeps a sex sheet in every room. So no telling what kind of fluids were all over that thing. So it needs to be washed.
Or who was watching, because the whole time I was like, Alistair has a camera, like he has them everywhere, so he probably sees them do it all the time. But the camera is in the Crane living room.
We've watched him watching the Crane living room. Yes. he absolutely has surveillance there. Yeah. So he has those tapes now. Now that's something he owns, a sex tape with his daughter. Great. All right. um, yeah, they make out, they make love in the mansion, and afterwards they they promise to never let any more misunderstandings come between them ever again. And they decide they have to tell Antonio. They agree that they're going to do it, and they're going to do it tonight of all nights. And she says, I just hope he'll be all right, but we can't be apart any longer. This is what they decide on. They can't be apart any longer. And so they make a plan to tell Antonio, and Sheridan just keeps reiterating like, oh, it's going to be a real shock for him. I can't imagine how much of a shock it will be. It's going to be a real shock for him. He's going to be so shocked. Like, she just keeps saying that. And Luis is like, yeah, well, he's had several shocks since he was diagnosed, and he survived. I know my brother. I know he's much stronger than everyone else thinks he is. Thank you, Luis. I'm so glad at least one character in the show is pointing out that he has had several shocks and several setbacks, and he's been fine. And we need to do this. He might die, but 'tis God's will, I guess.
It was my favorite line. So I'm like, thank you. Someone finally said it. He's been getting shocked left and right lately, and he survived.
He really has, and he's been fine. So they get dressed, and then they start making out on the couch again. Like, they put their clothes back on, and then they get back into doing it so they can take their clothes off again. But they don't. Luis says, I know what we should do. I know what'll cheer you up. And then he gets up, and on the radio, he turns on the radio and plays a tango. And she's like, oh, Luis, a tango? Oh, you remember? And then they tango together. I will say, every other time that these two people, and not just these two, anytime the tango has come up, it has annoyed me. This time I loved it. I loved it. I was actually watching it like 1.5 speed. I slowed it down to normal to watch it. It's like, because you know what? We haven't gotten a lot of Luis and Sheridan nice moments recently. It's been a really long time since we've seen them kind of be in relationship with each other and have like a moment that's not riddled with turmoil. And so I actually liked it. I was like, yeah, it's a little corny, it's a little hokey, but I love it. I love this. So it was cute.
It was. It came back this time in a way that it should have, as opposed to like a random time when it happened in the past, like when they were still hating each other at the youth center.
Exactly. The context here makes sense. And I guess in a way, retroactively, it makes all the other ones okay, because, this one, I like this one because it is a callback to things that they have done in the past. So, yeah. All right. So I'm not going to give the tango any more shit ever again. So meanwhile, Antonio makes his way to the cottage. He's looking for Sheridan. He gets there. He has a brain freeze and he collapses. He gets up, he takes a beat, and he's like, I have to find Sheridan. Sheridan, I have to find you. And he's like, she's probably at the mansion. So he heads up to the mansion to find Sheridan. He gets there, and when he walks through the door, Sheridan and Luis are twirling away from each other. First of all, he gets to the front door, and he can hear the music through the door, and he's like, tango music? What's Sheridan doing listening to tango music? No, I was just like, okay.
He also said he thought she was the only one there who would be listening to it. And I'm like, but it's your sister's house.
It's Teresa's house. Pilar's always there. Like, this is the kind of music y'all like as a family, right? So, yeah. Yes, he's like, Sheridan's the only one who would be listening to tango music. Shut up. And so he walks through the door, and at that exact moment, like, Luis and Sheridan like twirl away from each other, and Sheridan is smiling. She's laughing. She's having a good time. She twirls right into Antonio, and of course freaks out, right? Like, oh my God, Antonio.
She was horrified.
That's the perfect word. She was horrified to see him. She was horrified to see him. And so, he says, what's going on here? He's trying to see what's going on. But then he says, wait, I know what's going on here. Spoiler alert, he does not. He doesn't. He says,
It's the passions trope.
I know what's going on here. No, you don't. He has talked over everybody. I think on the Discord, Hannah had said that the character who does this the most, like who asks a question and then answers it and says like, "Oh, I know what's going on here," is Antonio. And until like this set of episodes, I felt like TC kind of had him edged out. But now that I've moved into, he does it so much this week. It was actually, I was like, oh, he's Hannah, you were right. I was wrong as always. Yeah, he's so much worse than TC.
He's worse than TC. He surpassed Ethan. Simone was never in the running.
Yeah, he's the worst. So, he's like, I know what's going on here. Luis, you were just trying to keep Sheridan distracted and keep her from thinking about my condition. I'm so glad you guys get along so well.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
Luis leaves. Like, okay. He leaves. He kind of in a hurry, kind of very quickly. And Sheridan's like, oh no, his jacket. He left his jacket. So she runs after him with his jacket, goes outside, gives him his jacket, and then they make a plan to tell Antonio the truth at the cottage tonight. Luis says, I want Eve and Mama and Beth to be there. I was like, why Beth? Why Beth? Leave Beth out of this. Leave Beth out of this. This week, I'm gonna slow down for a moment here since we're taking time today. This week with Beth, I felt so bad for her. Even though Beth has been doing a lot of like fuck shit, Luis needs to leave her the fuck alone. And I came to a realization. Luis has been having such a hard time seeing Sheridan and Antonio together because he loves Sheridan. Beth, last week, bared her entire soul to him, told him he's the only man she will ever love, told him she's never been able to be with anybody else because anybody else is only second best and she won't settle for anybody less than him. Told him she still hopes that they would be together, right? Now that because at the time she thought that they were, he and Sheridan had like broken up. Told him, now that y'all are done, finished, and she's moving on with Antonio, I would love it if you and I could be together. Now, to Luis's credit, he did tell her basically, no, that's not going to happen. I'm sorry that you have like put your life on hold for me. But I love Sheridan, and right now I can't think about being with anybody else. Great. But with that information, why the fuck do you keep including Beth on this shit? Yeah. Why do you keep including her? It's actually so fucked up when I think about it. Because again, he hates to see Antonio with Sheridan. He hates to hear Antonio talking about how much he loves Sheridan. He is killing him inside. Rightfully so. I understand why he hates it. Can you put yourself in Beth's shoes? How do you think she must feel having to go along with these plots and schemes, not necessarily plots and schemes, but to have to go along with this like lie with you so that you and Sheridan can eventually be together, right? Like, why you keep stringing her along and dragging her along with you? Stop, leave her out of it.
There's no need for her to be there. It makes sense for Pilar and Eve and Liz to be there because he thinks Liz is his best friend. But it doesn't make no sense. There's no sense for Beth to be there and later Edna.
Oh, no, makes no sense. And I'm taking issue with Luis on this. I really am. And I think Luis, honestly, Luis hasn't done a lot wrong in probably 400 episodes for me, 500 episodes. He's been doing really well. But yes, I did take issue with him even proposing to Beth in the first place. But, I can give him a pass. He was grieving. He was, he thought Sheridan was never going to come back. Fine. He felt like he needed to get on with his life. Okay. But this is just wrong. This is just actually flat out wrong and thoughtless. And he's being very selfish by including Beth all the time on these things. Stop. Leave her out
There's
of
no
it.
need. He needs to stop. And she needs to stop going. I think if she didn't live with Edna, she just would not care. But that's her only escape to get away from her mom sometimes.
Yeah. Oh, Edna. And we will talk more about God. Edna is I'm getting to that note soon to the Beth and Edna stuff. So anyway, they decide that they're gonna talk to Antonio with everybody tonight. In about an hour is what he says. And so she and Antonio then head back to the cottage. He, of course, tries to push up on her, trying to get in there, trying to sex her up. She manages to avoid his advances. She's like, oh, it's been such a long night. I don't know. I need to take a shower. Especially since, I bet you do need to take a shower, girl. I bet you do after all that shit you were doing with Luis. Just like, I can't. He's gonna know.
Yes, the night has already been 20 hours. She just did it with his brother.
I don't want to get too explicit, but she's like, I need to take a shower. You can't be getting in my pants right now because I got a lot going on. So anyway, she gets in the shower. Of course, he intrudes on her shower. He gets in and starts like rubbing and caressing her and saying how much he misses her and wants to make love to her. She should have seen this coming. She shouldn't have gotten in the shower. She should not have. She should have said like, oh, I have to go somewhere. I have to do something. I don't know what. But, oh, I left something at the mansion. Oh, I want to go check on little Ethan. Oh, make something up. But she should not have gotten in the shower. You got 1 hour until Luis gets here. You just have to hold him off for 1 hour. That's it. And you get in the shower?
Yes, but then he was in there in under like 2 minutes flat. Yeah. And we all knew it was going to happen. But like she got in there, turned it on, got her hair wet, turned around, there he was.
I will say, I believe that Sheridan should have seen this coming. However, she had already made herself clear to him that she didn't want to be physical with him right now. And so he never should have gotten in the shower with her, right? Like she did not consent to that. And he actually was ignoring her wishes by getting in the shower with her. So it's not Sheridan. I want to be clear. It's not Sheridan's fault. Antonio is the perpetrator. However, Sheridan also should have seen that coming. She should have known that was on the horizon. She manages to escape the shower, though. She manages to escape. She says, after everything that's happened today, I just worry that my mind would be elsewhere. And so he's like, okay, fine. And she says, you stay here. You take your shower. I'm going to get out. So she gets out the shower. And later on, he comes out in just his towel. And he tells her that, she's been acting kind of strange lately and that they just need to be totally honest with each other. And he's like, you just haven't been yourself all night. But then the thing he wants to be totally honest about, he says, I know why you've been acting the way that you have. And he says, it's because I'm sick. And then he talks about how beautiful their love is. Oh my God.
It's the same thing he always says. And he's going to wear this towel for an episode and a half because that also really, really annoyed me.
Me too. Put some clothes on. Some clothes on. He says, you've been acting strange and I know it's because I'm sick. I know it's because of me. Me. He's so selfish and self-centered. And then he's like, but we have a beautiful, beautiful love. Our love is deep and beautiful. And then he makes a speech about how he wants to make the most of the time they have left together. He says, I'm going to go get some wine and you and I can relax and unwind. And so then Sheridan calls Luis frantic because he has given her this speech, made her feel guilty about everything. And she calls Luis and tells him, we got to call it off. She tells me we gotta call off. So let's talk about what's going on with Luis, and then we'll get into that phone call. Luis goes over to Beth's house to invite her to his and Sheridan's little coming out party. And I'm sorry. Like, why would Beth want to be there? Why would Beth want to be there?
She gains absolutely nothing from this revelation.
The only reason I think the reason that Luis wants her to be there, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he basically says to her that she will be able to explain to Antonio that that the two of them are not engaged.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, you explain it to him.
Exactly.
Why does Beth need to do that? Why does Beth need to be there? You can explain it to him. So anyway, Beth is very shaken up and taken aback by the fact that Luis and Sheridan have basically gotten back together and that her plan to keep them apart did not work. And a reminder, yes, I am saying I kind of feel bad for Beth and I'm mad at Luis for how he's treating Beth. I do remember, I have not forgotten what she did to him last week or the week before. I have not forgotten that she drugged this man and assaulted him. I promise you I haven't. And it's still horrible. I hate that happened. But you know, I didn't write it. Passions did. I didn't write it this way, you know? So anyway, she is upset that her little horrible scheme by assaulting Luis did not work in keeping them apart. And this is when Sheridan calls Luis and tells him, we cannot go through with our plan tonight. Not tonight. I can't tell Antonio the truth tonight. It will shatter him. He just told me about how much he loves me and all of these reasons why he loves me and that we're going to have this beautiful life together with the little time he has left. And how could I he loves me so much. And how could I take that away from him when he doesn't have that long to live? That's what she says. Luis tries to convince her, like, no, we have to do this tonight. And she says, no, tonight just feels all wrong. I can't. And then she's like, oh, Antonio's coming back. I have to get off. And so she hangs up the phone on him with them never having come to a consensus, right? They're now on opposite sides of this idea. And so Antonio comes back. He just keeps getting brain freezes all night. He just...
Every 2 steps, it's happening. Which only makes Sheridan feel worse.
Yeah, which only makes Sheridan feel that's why they're doing this and showing us that he's like getting sicker and and it's making Sheridan feel very, 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 very guilty about breaking up with him, and not just breaking up with him, but telling him she's in love with his brother and is engaged to his brother. I mean, it is a tough conversation to have, but sometimes you have to have the tough conversations, you know? That's part of being a grown up. So, I mean, I guess she could just ghost him.
But you know, he would still be at the cottage and the mansion. Like, he knows where she lives.
No, he would stay there. Paris.
She should.
She should just go back to Paris. You know, she's got enough money to go. She has enough money to internationally ghost him, right? Like,
yes.
Just leave.
And she could take Luis on that flight that gets him there like in 10 minutes in the same episode.
Exactly. And then just like wait it out till he dies.
Oh my God. They could call Liz and be like, take him back to Bermuda. He's yours.
Yeah.
And don't come back.
Yeah. So... and you know what? Pilar can go with you because Pilar wants to be with her son so bad. She can go to Bermuda. They can live out his days in paradise with his mama that he missed so much time with because he ran out on her.
Exactly. So. And I'm sure Liz would stop and pick up Paloma on the way too.
Well, they won't. They always forget about Paloma. Poor thing. So, anyway, they're not gonna ghost him. That's not what's gonna happen at all. Luis, sorry, I'm trying to find my correct note. Okay, so Beth overhears this conversation. She sees this as an opportunity, right? That she and Luis may be able to get back together. And she can still keep him and Sheridan apart. She says to Luis that maybe Sheridan is right and that he should listen to her. But Edna interjects. She says, no, you cannot wait because Sheridan can't keep putting him off, right? She's like, she says, you have to tell him tonight, and not telling him isn't fair to anyone. So she also says, like, aren't you a cop? Don't cops go with their gut instinct? And Luis is like agreeing with Edna. He's like, yeah, you're right. I have to tell Sheridan. And,
she's telling him everything he wants to hear.
Sheridan has to know. What'd you say, Shane?
Oh, she's telling him everything he wants to hear.
And the truth. She's telling him what he wants to hear, but it also is like very accurate.
Mhm.
It's actually
For
very
once.
accurate. Yeah. So Beth then says, well, what about if it kills him, right? Like the shock could kill him. And Luis again says, he's been through a lot of setbacks lately and he's been fine. I believe if done gently, he will be fine. We just have to do this the right way. And he then talks about how he understands Sheridan's point of view in not wanting to be the one to do it. So he's just going to do it for her. He says, I'm going to relieve her of the burden and tell Antonio I'll be the one to do it. And so he leaves and heads to the cottage telling Beth, like, can you come over in a bit? Not to the cottage, to the mansion. I thought my notes say cottage a lot because it seemed like at first that's where they were supposed to be meeting, but they ended up meeting over at the mansion. So he leaves. Edna gloats and Beth threatens to kill her. She's like, I'm gonna kill you, you nasty old bitch. Oh, you know what I forgot to say? Before Luis showed up, Beth is scrubbing Edna's feet in like a basin of water, right? Scrubbing her feet. Edna's like antagonizing her, telling her she's like horrible. You can't even scrub my feet right. This is why like nobody will ever want you. And then Beth is like, your calluses are so hard. Like I'm trying to get them off, but they're too hard. You need to soak longer. And Edna's like, no, you need to work harder. And then she throws her nasty foot water all over Beth. So that is important information for what I'm about to say in this next portion of what happens between Beth and Edna. Because remember that Beth was scrubbing her nasty feet and she threw that nasty foot water all over Beth before Luis showed up. After Luis leaves, Edna gloats and says, see, Sheridan and Luis are going to be together. You're never going to have him. You're just going to have to be stuck here taking care of me for your whole life. And this is when Beth says, I'm going to kill you. I'm going to kill you, you nasty old bitch. And she grabs something sharp. I couldn't tell exactly what it was, but I think it was like one of the pedicure tools that she was using.
I thought it was a knife.
Was it a knife? I wasn't sure, but yeah, maybe it was a knife. That makes sense. Because she grabbed it like it was a knife and was wielding it like it was a knife. I'm going to kill you, you nasty old bitch. Edna manages to get away from her and locks herself in a closet. And, but eventually Beth takes an axe to the door, a la The Shining, right? And she's like, here's Bethy, right? She starts to break down the door with the axe. And so that's what's going on between those two right now. This is what I want to say. Beth was justified. Fuck Edna. I'm sorry. I don't know that I would kill her, but I would absolutely put her out. That lady would be on the street. That lady would be on the street. I love my mother so much. If my mama had been treating me like that my entire life, we would be no contact. She would be on the street. Just because you birthed me does not mean you can treat me any kind of fucking way. No. Absolutely.
Exactly. Beth should have put her in a home a long time ago.
Say that again?
Beth should have put her in the home a long time ago, which whatever home they're calling it, Shady whatever.
Yeah.
That's where she should be.
Yeah. It wasn't Shady Pines. It was because Shady Pines is that other one.
Golden Girls.
Golden Girls. Yeah, but it was Sweet Serenity.
Oh, okay. Oh, I thought they had Shady too. I see. I'm getting them confused.
Sweet Serenity. No, but it is a shady place. But yeah, so Edna is a nasty old bitch, and I support Beth's valid ass crash out right now. She crashed the hell out, and I'm all for it. I really am. So back at the cottage, Antonio is having a conversation with Sheridan, and in this conversation, again, he just gushes about how wonderful she is and how much she has like made his life worth living. And he says, I would rather die than to lose you, Sheridan. Then please, by all means, drop dead. Please drop dead. And then he talks about going to mass. He's like, I haven't been to mass in a long time, but I think I need to go so I can thank God for you, Sheridan. I'm sorry. I If I was in a relationship with a man who all they could do and the only thing they ever fucking talked about was me, how much they love me, how amazing I am. And maybe this sounds crazy to y'all, but I would be scared for my life.
I would have left that, like, I would leave that type of relationship in a heartbeat. I would waste no time, no matter what they said. It's too much. It's codependency. And that's one thing I can't personally stand.
It's utter dependence. Like
True.
his obsession with her is not healthy. And it's a very, very toxic thing. You know what it is he's constantly love bombing her. That's what it is. And that's why it makes me so uncomfortable.
Yes.
He is constantly just love bombing her, and he doesn't have shit else to talk about. They don't have conversations about anything but Sheridan. I wouldn't be able to do it. No. I think that is a sign that someone might be dangerous to you, right? Like if say I'm ready to break up or whatever, you might come and murder me. No. Because he's the kind of man that it feel like the way he talks to her and about her, it's very much giving, if I can't have you, nobody can.
Yes.
And so I don't know.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
He just is the worst. He is simply the worst. Simply the worst. He's simply the worst.
He is. Honestly, I'm surprised at this point he hasn't been like, do you want to come join me in the afterlife, Sheridan? To try to like ask her if she just wants to off herself.
Exactly. No, like trying to put her in a little suicide pact, a murder-suicide pact. Like, I'm going to die soon, so we should both die together, Sheridan. That's what it feels like.
Yeah.
Oh, God, he's so weird. He's such a weird man.
He is.
He's so odd.
I mean, like, Miguel may be a himbo, but he's the worst of the Lopez Fitzgerald children, I think.
He's the worst resident in Harmony.
True. And that says something because we have Rebecca, Alistair, and Julie.
He's worse than everybody here. Every single person on this show. He is at the bottom. He is on the bottom rung. He's not even on the ladder. Okay? The hierarchy of like good and bad. He's under it because, God, I find him just utterly insufferable. Utterly insufferable. So.
If really quick, it's still not really a tangent, but I'm like, if the lottery, like, you remember that story, right?
Expand.
If the lottery where they have to like pick straws and essentially kill someone, whoever has like the shortest straw or something.
Okay. When you said the lottery, you remember that story? I thought you were talking about something that happened in Passions. Yes, I did.
No. But I was going to say,
read the lottery. Yeah.
If the lottery happened in Passions, immediately as soon as someone is not even halfway through the idea of suggesting it, I'd be like, Antonio.
100%. Antonio, we got to get him out of here. He's dying anyway.
Exactly.
He's dying anyway. In fact, I would be mad that he didn't go ahead and sacrifice himself knowing he's dying, right? Like, oh, you think the rest of you're already dying. Get up there. You go on up there. We're sacrificing you. So the Luis, we need to talk about what's going on with Luis. Luis goes to the church and finds his mother praying for her children. She's like, oh, my children are in bad situations right now. And he says to her, I don't know what the fuck made him say this. He doesn't say, hi, mama, hey, nothing. His first line to Pilar is, I'm sorry, mama. Tonight, one of your children could die. Now, why would you say that?
In that tone, in church, of all places.
Why would you say that? I was like, Luis, you are being, that's a little too much. Why would you say that to your mama?
It's a little extra, Luis.
Yeah. And then he explains that he has this plan to tell Antonio the truth tonight. And Pilar's like, but what about your brother? You know that the shock of this news could kill him. And Luis says, I don't want to hurt him any more than you do, but I also know that the longer we wait, the worse it's going to be for him. And then Pilar says, how can you say that, Luis? We know your brother's going to die. And if he dies believing Sheridan loves him, how can that be bad? Because it's a lie, Pilar. Because it's a lie. And you are the main person from episode 1 who's been talking about how we shouldn't lie and everybody needs to be telling the truth and all of this. But, and remember the part of Pilar doesn't lie. Does anybody remember that?
I was getting ready to say, Pilar doesn't lie, and yet all she's done is lie since we've met her.
Exactly. It's a lie. And you're going to let your son live a lie and die believing that lie. And Luis says that Antonio could live for months and Sheridan and I deserve to be together. And he says, what kind of life is it for Antonio anyway if Sheridan is living a lie? If she's constantly putting him off and making excuses not to sleep with him, he can't keep his hands off her. So she's dying inside. So he says Sheridan and I deserve to be together and Antonio deserves to be told the truth. No notes. Yes, correct. No notes. He then invites her to the intervention, which of course Pilar should be there, to be support. And then he explains, I'm calling everybody to come over. All his friends and families will be there to witness his. Oh, this is not what he said. This is what I said. My note says he then invites her to the intervention. All his friends and family will be there to witness his utter humiliation. LMAO.
But that's essentially what he said, just not in those words.
Yeah, because why are you inviting so many people to, like, in my mind, they should have like made him go to the hospital and did it like in the hospital room with just Sheridan, Luis, and Eve.
Yes.
Like, I don't know that anybody else necessarily needs to be there when it was happening. Now, maybe they would have like Liz and Pilar on standby, like, hey, this is happening. Please stay nearby so that once we tell him, then you can come in and comfort him if needed, right?
Exactly.
But the fact that they're like staging an intervention, his intervention for his addiction to Sheridan.
That's what it is. That's what he has.
Yeah. And that he's like inviting all these people. Beth of all people is so weird. To witness, like I said, his utter humiliation. And because that's what it is. This is a humiliation ritual. Make no mistake. And so then Pilar asks him if Sheridan is on board with this plan, and Luis says that that's why I want you to go on over to the cottage right now and talk to her and tell her about this plan, that I'm going to go through with this. But like, she already knows the plan. Whatever. Anyway, I personally did not think it was fair for him to drag Pilar into it in this way. Right? It's one thing to tell your mom, hey, this is happening. I want you need to be aware of what's happening. It's also, even just saying like, maybe you should be there for support, fine. But to make Pilar go to Sheridan and try to convince Sheridan that this is the right thing to do when Pilar doesn't even want this to be happening, it's not fair to her. It's not.
It's I got mad at him a little bit in that moment too. And it's like, why don't you just call her back? Because they never finished their call. Just call her back and tell her that it's still on and you're going to do it so she doesn't have to.
Yeah. And so he sends Pilar to do his dirty work. And so Pilar goes to the cottage. She tells Sheridan what Luis is planning. Sheridan is like, she's not happy about it, but she also understands, like, she's going along with this whole thing. So they decide to go over to the mansion and take Antonio.
And Antonio, I just want to add, he was still in the towel the whole time his mama was there.
Yep. He asked her if she wanted some wine.
Wearing his towel.
Yeah. Mama, you want some wine? Ugh. Put some clothes on.
Exactly.
So now this is where we're going to talk about what happened when Luis went to the Russells. Because again, he's just going around town finding the people that he needs to bring to the intervention instead of calling them. And so he goes to the Russells. He invites Eve and Liz to the intervention. We already kind of touched on it a little bit. And we touched on Liz being upset because the shot could kill Antonio, and she obviously loves him. And Luis says to her, that's why I'm planning an intervention for him. All his friends and family can be there for him. And this is when TC says something that I actually agree with for once. I know I already kind of touched on it, but he says, don't you think that will make it worse? I mean, you're going to humiliate him in front of everybody when he finds out the woman he loves is in love with you.
And then he says, I'm in.
Yeah, he's like, give me a second, let me get dressed. But then Luis counters with a point that I did not agree with. He says, I think he's gonna be humiliated if he finds out that he's been kept in the dark for so long. Well, he's about to find that out. That's what you're doing. That's exactly what you're doing, is telling him Sheridan's in love with me and everybody knew but you, and we just have been hiding it from you for however long. So whatever. He is facilitating his brother's utter humiliation, and he doesn't see it that way.
No.
Liz asks him to reconsider, but Luis is insistent that this has to be done tonight. So Luis then goes back to Beth's house and interrupts her murdering her mother.
Interrupts the here's Bethy moment.
Yeah, interrupts here's Bethy, because she was about to murder her horrible mother. And honestly, for me, this would have been a real Gypsy Rose Lee situation. You know who? You know Gypsy Rose Lee?
Oh, yes.
Her mom. Well, yeah, had her mom killed or whatever. And honestly, her crash out was valid too. Like, I'm not saying I would do it.
No.
I'm just saying I get it. Like, but she gets interrupted. She doesn't get to kill her mom. And they all end up going to the mansion together. Edna decides to tag along, and Luis is like, fine with this. It's like, this should be a small, intimate thing. But now Edna's coming, Edna's coming, TC is coming, and Beth, like, why should these people even be involved at all? But
I am surprised Luis did not go upstairs and round up the cranes that were there. Like Julian, Rebecca, Gwen, Ethan, Teresa.
Truthfully, honestly, I was surprised that he didn't include Teresa, right? Like, if you are going to do this, you would think it would be kind of like maybe a family thing, you know, include Teresa and Miguel, but no, he didn't do that. He included Beth and Edna. Okay. So they all go to the mansion. Sheridan is unsure about telling Antonio. Antonio's like off somewhere, obviously. Like, people are constantly chit-chatting about him, and he's nowhere to be seen. But Sheridan is telling Pilar, like, she's feeling uncomfortable. She's very unsure about telling Antonio. She tells Luis, I don't know about this. Like, I don't know, that tonight doesn't feel right. He loves me so much. He just keeps telling me how much he loves me. I don't want to hurt him. Luis is quite firm. He's like, this has to happen, and look, everybody's here. It's happening. Get on board. It is happening. So this is when Antonio enters, and he is so confused about, one, why everybody's there. He's like, Beth, Mrs. Wallace, Eve, TC, like everybody, what's going on here? And he's there, and he overhears, the last thing he hears Luis saying is that Antonio needs to know the truth, right? So he's like, tell me, I need to know the truth about what, Luis? And Luis is like, oh, come on in, brother, have a seat. We're glad you came, right? Because he's starting the intervention.
Yes.
Have a seat, sit down. And Antonio starts getting really agitated. It's like, no, I don't want to sit down. Tell me what's going on. I don't want to sit down. And then Sheridan gets like this little dizzy spell. I don't know if it was real, fake. I don't know. I do know that she is one of the people that's, I think, is pregnant.
Oh, that makes sense, because I didn't pick that up. I honestly thought, I was like, is she faking this just so she can postpone the inevitable?
It seemed like that, but also but like she got a dizzy spell and then Gwen also got a dizzy spell.
Mm-hmm.
And that's like the universal signal in passions that somebody's
Mm-hmm.
pregnant.
Yes.
And so yeah, they're telling us like, yeah, don't get too cozy. Don't think that this is gonna happen tonight.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, she gets a little dizzy spell and it interrupts this intervention very momentarily, very shortly. They just continue to draw things out for like an episode or two. I can't remember how long this took, but it took quite some time.
Yes. They spent a lot of time too trying to get him to sit down, and he wouldn't. And I was like, can you then just tell him, let him stand, or give him like 2 minutes, and he'll fall down by seeing the light again anyway.
Exactly. That's what I was thinking. I was like, look, if he doesn't want to sit down, he doesn't want to sit down. Fine, but just makes TC stand behind him so he can catch him or something, right?
Yes. He would have a use. There we go.
Yeah. Now we know why TC's here. It's because Antonio won't sit down, so we need somebody to catch him when he falls. Because he's inevitably going to fall. That's all he does. I lied earlier when I said all he does is talk about Sheridan. He also passes out.
Yes.
He also gets brain freezes and collapses. He does that a lot too. He is insufferable. And so yeah, he just he gets very agitated. He's like, I don't want to sit down. Tell me what's going on. What's this all about? And then he says, wait a minute. I know what's going on here. Again, no, he does not.
No.
I know what's going on here. Dr. Russell, you must have told everybody the results of my latest test. Eve says, no. She says, and no. He ignores her entirely. Sheridan then says, what tests? I mean, clearly by her reaction, she has not heard about any new tests. She says, what tests? He ignores her entirely. And he says, oh, well, he ignores basically what she's trying to say, like what test, and says like, oh, you don't have to pretend like you don't know for my sake. And then he says, she told me the results of my latest test that I'm not going to be living as long as I thought. Okay, sorry, my note looked weird. Then he goes on to say, Eve told me that the results of my latest test mean that I'm not going to be living as long as I thought. Well, how long did you think you had? The last time we talked to Eve said he had maybe a couple of months. That was in the first conversation. I know that Antonio just found out that he's actually sick for real. But this should not be news to everyone else.
No.
It should not be news to everyone else. Eve said that in her initial tests and when she was telling everyone but Antonio what his prognosis was. And she said it could be months, it could be weeks, it could be days. She didn't know. She just knew, but she knew it wouldn't be years.
No.
She knew it wouldn't be years. And so he says, I don't have as long as I thought. And everyone keeps trying to tell him that they had no clue about this, and he just keeps ignoring them.
He bulldozes right over them.
That's not what we're here for. God, I hate him so much. This was a moment where I took my earbuds out and like stopped watching for a moment because I just had to take a moment. I hate him. I actually despise him. I despise him.
Oh, brother, this guy stinks!
He ignores the what's clearly going on around him and writes his own narrative, regardless of what the facts are. I hate him. You know what? You know who else? You know who else ignores reality and writes their own narrative regardless of what the facts are? Your president and the people who follow him. And I hate him too. And I hate him just like I fucking hate Antonio. Antonio is as bad as Trump to me. So anyway, he's ignoring this. He's saying that, that y'all don't have to pretend like you didn't know for my benefit. Why would they be pretending if they put this all together? Why would they be pretending that they don't know if they put all of this together? Why would that be the thing that they're about to tell you? But now you say they're pretending that Eve didn't tell them. That doesn't make any fucking sense, Antonio. It doesn't make. Use your
But
brain.
nothing he
I
says
guess he
does.
can't use his brain. I was about to say use your brain, but his brain's fucked up.
It wasn't there to begin with.
Yeah, that's true. It's even worse now. He's gone into like the negative in computing space and what he can do in his brain. God, I hate him.
It was really infuriating to watch this scene when literally everyone is like, no, listen to us. And he just goes off on his own tangent, bulldozing through every single thing that they have to say.
Bulldozing is the exact right word. He bulldozes people. Okay. So I'm carrying on, but because this wasn't even the thing that made me the most angry this week. This wasn't even the thing that like incensed me the most this week. So everybody tells him like we had no clue. He ignores them. Then Sheridan and Pilar have a little like side conversation and somehow are shocked that his condition is getting worse. Yeah, again, I will reiterate, that's how disease works and that's how time works. That's just how it works. And I don't know how you're shocked that his condition is getting worse when Eve told you, before she ever even told him, that he was dying and that he was going to die soon and that his condition would continue to deteriorate until he was dead. I mean, but they're like shocked. They're like, oh my God. But his diagnosis isn't any different than it was before.
No.
I was mad about what I was mad about in this is that we were wasting so much time on this quote new revelation, and it wasn't a revelation at all. We already know this information, and now we're just gonna basically kind of go in a circle back to like the point where we started with this. Like, oh, Antonio's sick. Yes, we know he's sick. We've known he was sick.
Yeah. And it happened in the last episode, if I remember correctly. And I just remember thinking, like, this was their Friday cliffhanger.
Yeah. No, exactly. Like this is what y'all got? No. No, y'all need well, you know what? Never mind. Going on. So then Antonio gives a speech about how happy he's been since Sheridan came into his life, and she's the most beautiful, perfect woman in the world. And he tells her, you make whatever it is that's going on with my brain bearable, which was a hilarious line. You make whatever it is that's going on with my brain bearable. I'm just sick to death of this. I am. I'm not as sick to death as Antonio is, but I'm getting there. I am. But he goes on to say, now get ready, brace yourselves, people. Goes on to say, I just want to tell all of you that I love you very much, and I want to thank you all for your help and your support. It's really wonderful having friends and family like you. And Dr. Russell, you're the best. Not only are you a wonderful physician, I also consider you a new friend. And I just wanted to thank you for being open and honest with me in telling my family and friends about my condition. You're thanking her for violating your fucking privacy? You're thanking her for lying to you all this time? She's a wonderful physician. His brain is completely fried. It's gone. It is gone. He has actually lost his mind. Because what the fuck are you talking about? She's a wonderful physician. I'm so grateful to you for lying to me all this time and telling everybody in town about my sickness but me, except for me. I'm sorry. Because, like, Eve, I was mad at Eve for that, but I'm more mad at Antonio for thanking her for it. What? What? Then he turns to Liz and says, Liz, we're such good friends. We've had such wonderful times together, haven't we? And then they talk about, like, kind of go back and forth about, like, some of the times they had on the island. And Liz says to him, I wish I had it all back. I wouldn't waste a single second of it. I would stick to you like glue. And then Antonio says, don't say that. It's okay that you pulled away from me and you always said that there was someone else out there for us. Well, I found my soulmate in Sheridan, and I know that there's a soulmate out there for you too somewhere. It's okay that you pulled away from me, Liz. You always said there was someone else out there for us. Now, here's where court is in order, people. Because I've got some receipts, proof, timelines to show you. So we're gonna jump into some clips for maybe not the first time. I think I've put clips in. I put them in every once in a while, every blue moon.
Mm-hmm.
But I have 3 clips today to show you all. So I'm gonna share my screen, and we're gonna see. So keep in mind that he says you pulled away from me. Please keep that in mind. That is such an important piece of information.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, here we go. Exhibit A.
Brian, I know you want to help her forget about her old love by showing her your own love. But I don't think you're going to make much headway while she's sleeping.
All right, you're right. Liz, do you hate me for caring about her the way that I do?
Brian, we've been through this already. Our relationship was over years ago.
Yes, I know, but I hurt you, and I just want to make sure.
Do you want the tea or not?
Okay, he said what now? I did what?
He said, I hurt you.
I hurt you.
Not you pulled away.
I hurt you. That's Exhibit A. We're going to move on to Exhibit B. This clip's going to finish out, and we're going to move on to Exhibit B.
Sure.
So why did your relationship with Liz end?
Lots of reasons.
Like?
Well, for one, I wasn't ready to be in a serious relationship. I mean, to me, relationships were never serious.
Well, what about Liz? Was the relationship serious for her?
We talked about it afterwards. I mean, we both understand why it had to end. Just the good thing is that we were able to remain friends throughout. Liz, she's a fine woman.
She's the best.
I don't like that little cough he did at the end when she said she's the best. Also, what did he say there? Oh, relationships have never been serious. It was never serious between me and Liz.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting. Exhibit C.
Hey, I just want to tell you thanks again for, those dance and dinner tickets in Bermuda.
Yeah. Still remember the one that we went to? I'll never forget that night.
Sorry, Liz.
Oh, no, come on. Don't worry about it. Had no business thinking that you would invite me to Bermuda in the first place. Seems like we've been over forever.
You still mean a lot to me.
Please, Brian. Not the we'll still be close friends speech. I'm not up for it tonight. Or any other night, frankly.
Okay.
I believe I rest my case.
Mm-hmm.
I believe I rest my fucking case because yeah, all of those clips tell me the middle one, the second one, Exhibit B, very explicitly states that he didn't see their relationship as serious. He didn't want to commit to her. So the fact that Liz is saying that the reason that I'm not married to Brian is because I didn't want to commit to him is not true.
No.
That is a completely false claim. And like I said, I will not be gaslit by passions. They're not going to do this to me. I will not let them do this to me. So I hope y'all enjoyed the clips. You could see them, right?
Yes, absolutely. I could see them. I could hear them. And yeah, you're 100% right, which we all knew because it's just not the way that it happened. And I think her story with Eve could work without rewriting history.
It absolutely
They didn't have to
could.
do that. But why they went down this road is a mystery to me.
Yeah. No, I really, That really got to me this week.
Mhm.
As evidenced by the fact that I was watching the episodes at like 9 o'clock this morning. Like I still had like an episode or two left. And when I got to that portion, I was like, I have to stop. I have to dig through my notes. And if y'all want to know what those episodes were, it was 666, 693. Let me look at the thingy. It was 666, 685, and 693. I went back through my notes. I went through because I knew it was somewhere in the 600s. So I just was like going through all of my notes. Like, no, I will find out. I will find it because they're not gonna get me on this. So anyway, whatever. Where are we? He says to Liz that, you know, it's okay. You pulled away from me and you always said that there was someone else out there for us. I found my soulmate in Sheridan. You'll find yours, blah, blah, blah. So then he starts kind of making the rounds, kind of like an addict would do in like a 12-step program where they like say their apologies, make amends, right? So he first he apologizes to Liz. Now he's apologizing to Pilar and says, you know, I'm sorry for running out on you, blah, blah, blah. I'm sorry we missed so much time together. Then he apologizes to Beth. I'm sorry that, you know, you had to put your life on hold. If I hadn't left, you and Luis would be together, blah, blah, blah. And then he gives Luis an apology and he says, you know, I'm sorry that I had to leave and everything got left on you and you had to put your life on hold because of what I did. And I want to make it up to you. He says, and I want to make it up to you. And if I can't do it here on earth, I hope to do it wherever I end up. And this is where I wrote, go to hell. Go to hell, Antonio. I hope you end up in hell. That's where I hope he ends up. I hate him so much. And so then he just goes back to telling Sheridan how much he loves her and how great she is and how like she's changed his life and he hopes to be able to spend what little time he has left with her and she's made his life worth living, and if he has to die young, so be it, because at least he was able to spend what little time he had with her, and that and that she loves him. I love you and you love me and we're in love so much. It was so much. Sheridan runs off in tears. Antonio starts to go after her. Luis goes. He goes right after her. Antonio tries to go after her. Pilar pulls him back and says, no, you need to let them have a moment alone. Get a clue, Antonio. Come on. And so he hangs back while Luis and Sheridan have a moment. And Luis tells Sheridan that Antonio needs to know the truth. I know it's going to be hard. Well, he has to know tonight. Sheridan feels very, very guilty. That's kind of like where we ended off with them. I do want to note that there's a conversation between Liz and TC about Liz's inability to love properly due to the hurt that the woman, this mysterious woman, had caused her in her past. And so we're now blaming Liz's lack of a love life or a lack of a husband on Eve by way of just like her past trauma with Eve. She can't love properly, whatever. So that's actually it that's actually everything I have for Shuis. You have anything to add?
I have two other things. One of them is really about Shuis, and the other one's more so about what I noticed. But during the whole Antonio intervention, there's a moment where when he starts talking, and I thought it was really funny because I was like, I don't know. Well, like I thought something was going to happen. When it didn't happen, I was like, were we supposed to see that? But there's a moment when Eve just like kind of sighs and leaves the room. But then she comes back for her conversation with Liz and TC.
Oh, I didn't notice.
Like she didn't go get anything. Like after nothing happened, I was like, I wonder if that should have made the episode, because she just walked off, which I don't blame her. I would have too if he was going to go down that road.
Yeah, maybe it was something that they cut, like a scene that they cut. Like she went somewhere, they cut the scene. Like maybe she went to go check on little Ethan or something.
Maybe.
That's weird. Maybe she just went to the bathroom. Maybe she went to find Julian and he wasn't there, and so she just came back.
She's like, I've had enough of this crap, so.
Right. So
But then the other thing I just wanted to say as a Sunset Beach fan, the scene where Beth was trying to kill um, Edna was the first time I was like, because Lisa pointed this out on the forum or
on
wherever we talk,
podcast, I think. Yeah.
that they live in Surf Central from Sunset Beach, and that's when I really noticed it, which I also love because of course Kathleen Noon was on that, and I'm like, oh, that's cute that she got the Sunset Beach house as her
Yeah.
house.
Yeah. It's a cool little detail for sure.
hmm
For
And then when
sure.
she ran in the closet, it's like that's supposed to be the kitchen, but that's fine, Passions.
Listen, it is what it is. I think that closet used to be Edna's bedroom. Like
Did it?
that door, unless there's another door over there. Before it was like the setup was the living room. You walk straight through the living room. That door was going to Edna's bedroom. So
hmm
yeah, I don't know. Maybe there was there's a second door there and I just didn't notice.
On Sunset Beach, it was the kitchen. So I really enjoyed seeing that set, and I never noticed that when I was watching when I was younger because I absolutely loved Sunset Beach.
You know what? You're not the first person to tell me they loved Sunset Beach, and it was pretty short lived.
3 years, yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty short lived. So you should do a Sunset Beach podcast. I would come on it. I would do it with you.
I thought about
I
it,
wouldn't do
but
it every week, but
yeah, no, I thought about it. I was like, I also don't want like LeTara to think I'm like stealing her,
no,
like stealing your idea.
I would never think that. I don't care if you steal my idea. Like it's, I'm not the person who thought up doing a rewatch podcast. That's not it's not my original idea. It's just I just happen to be doing one for a soap opera, so it's taking long as hell. But yeah, you should. If you I fully support it. Number one. Number two, I could absolutely do a little, cross promotion for you on Passions, and maybe we'll do like a special episode where we just talk about Sunset Beach. So let me
If you
know.
do, definitely have me on.
No, you with your podcast.
Oh,
right?
yes.
Yeah, and I'll put it on Passions podcast so people and kind of like do you ever listen to do you listen to This American Life?
I listened to, I think, one of the off branches of it, like one of the sequel series that they did.
Yeah,
because it was a shorter one than This American Life, so I know of it.
Yes. So This American Life, a lot of times one episode of like the week will be, like usually it's an episode of This American Life, but every once in a while they'll be like, we want to share an episode of this great podcast that, from our partners, over at Serial, and it'll just be the first episode of that podcast for the week. That's it. So I would be okay with doing that one time. So yeah, I think you definitely should do your Sunset Beach podcast and just let me know. I'm willing to help in any way I can. But
Thank you.
for now, we are done with part 1. So that is the end of this episode. So with that, Shane, where can the people find you online?
Online, so on Blue Sky, I'm Shane Lee Miller. On Instagram and of course Threads, I'm Shane Lee _ Miler. I don't know if I misspelled that or if Miller just wasn't available. I probably misspelled it. And then finally, TikTok, I'm Shane Lee Miller 11. I'm trying to put more TikToks out, not necessarily soap opera based. I should do some, but I got some videos on there. So if you'd like to connect with me, especially let me know if you listen and you're one of our people that we chat with. I will gladly follow back.
Amazing. All right. I will link that in the description. And of course, as always, you can find me on the Patreon, on the Discord. Go out there, patreon.com/passionspodcast. And also, I'm going to go ahead and announce this to y'all. I actually have released some new music. So if anybody cares to listen to my music or follow like my artist pages, it's LTLEE. So that's my, like, I guess artist name, LTLEE. It's LT Lee. Right, because my name's LeTara, and I have friends who call me LT because I have capital T in my name. So that's what it is. But yeah, I'm really excited. So I would love it if somebody would follow my music pages, because right now I think I have like 18 followers on my TikTok and on my Instagram. I believe there are 3. So please go check that out. I would love and appreciate that so much. And listen to my music on Apple Music, Spotify, literally anywhere you can stream music. You can find my music. So please check that out. And if you don't like it, please do not fucking tell me about it. Thanks. And with that, you are my passion for life.